can see you vibing to this jam. You like it?
I do.
Oh. Well, welcome, guys. It is, first of all, a privilege to have the three of you with me. I'll have you introduce yourself in just a second. This is our wrap-up of what is now an 8-week-long mini-series on listing management, and we've got some OGs in the house. First of all, let me start with a compliment. You're all invited here because of how old you actually are.
I'll receive that as a compliment for sure.
And I think you just referred to us as the caboose of the series, basically.
The caboose. Oh, wow. I didn't hear that word much. Yeah, sure. However you want to see it. Why don't we real quick, do you guys remember way back in the day, some of you will, every time we had new team members join the company, we would introduce ourselves. The entire room would introduce themselves with their name, yours, and the business. And then do you remember the final question?
Was something interesting, or?
It was normally favorite flavor ice cream.
Oh.
It was common. So we're just going to start with that super quick.
Also encourage people to dance on the table if they wanted to.
This was when things were a lot smaller and we could get away with all sorts of weird stuff. Name, yours in the business, office, and favorite flavor ice cream. You're up.
All right. I'm Megan Mitchum. I'm in the Urbandale office. I've been licensed and active since 2005. And I have to say my favorite ice cream flavor is Java Chunk, hands down.
That's coffee with chocolate?
Yes.
Love it.
And brownie, or what's in it?
No. Oh. Coffee ice cream with chocolate chunks.
Okay. Jared Van Cleave. I've been in since 2006, coming up on 19 years. And I'm just going to say Rocky Road because that's a pretty good ice cream. But I don't eat a lot of ice cream.
Yeah, I'm Roger Wheeler, and I've been licensed for 26 years, so I remember Megan, Jared, and notably Dylan getting licensed. And I swore off ice cream January 1st of 2025, but I am missing, is Rocky Road the one with marshmallows in it?
And peanuts.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'll go with Rocky Road. I do kind of miss that.
Was it a dairy thing?
No, it's a belly fat issue.
I understand.
Sorry, we just laughed at you, Roger.
When you hit your 50s, you will understand.
So just to kick us off here, I don't want to get too deep in this, so don't give me a thesis, Raj, but super quick. What are you guys feeling? How would you describe the market right now?
Weird.
Weird?
Yeah.
Why weird? Just
weird because, we don't feel like the real, I don't feel like the real advisor right now because I feel like there's no rhyme or reason to what's selling and what's not.
Yeah.
And so, we've all talked about it a million times. Pricing is difficult. So now I think it's just more about managing clients, buyers and sellers.
Okay.
The market is a sprinter in the starting blocks, and the starter has been holding his gun too long, and everyone is starting to get cramps.
Is the starter the guy with the gun? Is that the Federal Reserve?
I did see he false started yesterday once again.
Well, okay, different topic.
That
We'll
is
get into that at some
awesome.
point. He's been thinking this one through for a while.
I love it.
So what you're saying here is there's a lot of pent up demand. We just need interest rates to come down, or maybe give me just 30 seconds on what that all means for any of us that are not metaphorically inclined.
Yeah, I think that everyone is waiting. We had a new president who said he was going to inject some energy into the real estate market, and he has made economic moves that have done a great job of inviting foreign investors into the real estate market. And so everybody in America is sitting waiting to see, will rates come down? Will there be programs initiated by the federal government, by the state government? And when somebody shoots the gun, the reason that I use that metaphor, I have my college roommate of 35 years ago in town right now running the senior games up in Ames, and he got second in the 50 meter dash nationally. So starting blocks are on my mind.
I was going to say I was failing to make the connection, but
But the cramps, I think, are fatigue in that people are becoming less and less motivated, even though there is the demand.
Yeah, there's all kinds of weird stuff going on in people's minds, and I don't know that they fully understand it, both realtors and people in the marketplace, and it just feels like a cramp. It doesn't feel good.
Okay.
It hurts.
That's good. I like that. We're in a transition point. We're between. So we're going to go with a cramp. Jared, how would you describe the market?
Word came to my mind was sluggish, but some of that is seasonal. July and August tend to be slower anyway, and so I think that is putting some pressure on some people too. I mean, I'm in Ames, so we've got turnover right now, and so people are locking in on new leases, and so they're maybe slowing down their search, and then sellers are like, well, where are people? Why aren't they looking at my home? And it's vacation season. We'll have state fair. It'll be back to school, and then maybe things will start going again mid-September. That's typically what we see in Ames.
Yeah. Okay, so here's where I want to go. You three have been invited because you were all, I'm going to say you grew up in your real estate businesses. You grew up, I mean, Roger, you grew up before the first era that I've got here. I mean, kind of, 99, 98, is that right?
Yes.
You two guys came in the very end of that, of the first major era, and you have those in front of you. For anyone that's listened on the very first episode, we talked about these eras. I'll review them in a second. But you guys are some of very, very few people left in our organization, and frankly in the marketplace as a whole, that have actually lived through the last 4 or 5 years. How's that make you feel, Reg?
Yeah, last man standing.
Well, but that's part of success in this business is just time. I really do believe that. So, the whole thesis here is that I think a lot of our agents haven't lived through where I think we're maybe headed in the marketplace and some of the skills that we need to deploy. So give me a minute, okay? This is going to be a little redundant, but for anyone that's been following along, super quick, here's where we've been. We covered the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major eras. 2000 through 2006 was sort of the last balanced market. 7 through 12 was our crash. 13 through 19 was where we started to go into an inventory decline, and rates started to decline, but nothing crazy. I suppose the inventory felt crazy in 13 through 19. This was when multiple offers started to show up, and we all started to brush off those skills. Before that, we were all short sale specialists. And then after that, overnight, all of a sudden, we became multiple offer specialists. And we've been multiple offer specialists from 13 all the way through 20 when stuff went we just added cocaine to that cocktail. And all of a sudden, 20 through 24, we have massively reduced rates and massively reduced inventory. And then here we are in 25. So we covered those eras. And my big point there was, man, a lot of us haven't seen anything other than a multiple offer world. We talked about starting to set seller expectations differently, where we got to deal with the cramp that's going on in people's brains. We talked about strategic pricing and how to treat pricing as an art form, not a science. We talked about a lot of psychology. That's the psychology of the love-o-meter. Like now that we've got extended days on market, how we guide psychologically our sellers through this long period of time where they get more and more annoyed as their property doesn't sell, as maybe the cramp builds. Empathy and theory of mind was the focus there. And then we suggested that what we've got to start doing is implementing more intentional communication programs. If you're going to be managing your listings for 90 days, you gotta be communicating with these people face-to-face, voice-to-voice, at least weekly, in order to manage the emotions of this journey. And then we touched on the 3 Ps framework, and this was really to get our team to start to understand the fundamentals of how homes sell. Because for the last, I would say, 12, 13 years, I don't think we've needed to know how houses sell. I think we've just had to get them on, market them well, and then manage the chaos of multiple offers. And that was our skill, and it was necessary to have that skill. Today, I think we've got to understand what marketing actually matters and how to position each property so that it's got its best foot forward, so that it's at the front of the pack. And that's what our product price promotion conversation was about. Then we got into some price reduction discussion. So, guys, that's where we've been. I want to start with the eras with you guys because you've all seen them. So if you look at that piece of paper and you think through the long history of your careers, let me just start with this. Do you have a favorite? How about a best and a worst? If you break it into these buckets of these markets, which do you think has been the most enjoyable for you, and which has been the most challenging, Megan?
I think that I mean, I don't know how anyone could argue with 2020, 2021, beginning of 2022 being like fun, because I think that's when I started to become more, in my business, more listing heavy. And that was pretty exciting to have the multiple offers and no real contingencies. And it's really just selecting the best one and having backups if that one happened to fall through. But that also was the most stressful because of just the pace, the timing, that you're always. It's almost like you planned when your listing went live around your schedule, like when you could handle the offers and you set when you were going to review them, and for real.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And then, cause that's when I became super overwhelmed as well with having some buyers and just, overbooking, double booking. And, that's when I hired an additional team member, was 2022, because I was so overwhelmed in 2021.
Least favorite?
Oh, for sure. When like the short sales were around.
It was brutal.
Yeah. I mean, if you had a short sale as a listing, that was brutal. If you had a buyer who had an offer on a short sale, that was also brutal. Setting them up for like no response on their offer for like 3 or 4 months. That was crazy. That was not fun.
I had a short sale that lasted 3 years.
That's why they call it short.
Did they actually
That was
perform?
A long sale. It actually finally closed, yes.
Oh my God.
It was a listing.
Okay.
It was nuts. So that was a brutal.
During that time, you also had the government offering programs to redo your mortgage that kind of played into a lot of that. What did they call that?
Well, there was tax programs. I remember those, the tax incentives
You
for
could
buyers.
actually reduce your mortgage.
Oh, yeah.
What was that called?
Forgiveness or something? Like loan forgiveness?
Look at us, we're old.
Yeah, some sort of restructuring program the government did.
But you're making the point, like that set of skills was a fundamentally different set of skills that I think most of us have long forgotten at this point. I mean, I think by the next time we end up in a market like that, heaven forbid that ever happens, we're going to have to
retire.
Yeah. I mean, there was education in our company around short sales and foreclosures and that was a huge part of people's business.
Everybody shifted. I mean, you had to. It was the only way to survive. You know what's ironic about that time period is we were doing about little over 4 million units nationally at that time during that crisis. And we've been for the last 3 years at about 4 million units as a market. It's just nuts. So Roger, best and worst? You were going somewhere else?
Yeah, well, I love the game of all of them. I love trying to figure out how to be the first one in a house, like Megan was saying, and then throwing down the tailgate, getting out the iPad, looking my client in the eye and saying, you have 5 minutes to make an offer. And then calling the listing agent and trying to figure out how to get them to accept your full price offer before they allow any of the rest of their showings. Those are fun. The short sale thing was also...
You didn't mind that?
I didn't mind it if you could keep volume at such a level that you could afford to have things go a year. And you just had a big enough pipeline that you had things selling all the time. The thing I was going to add, that I tend to think through in terms of new construction a lot. And I do think as we think through the eras, we had that period 13 through 19 where almost no new homes were built. And then all of a sudden they took off again in 19, and it's been kind of a boom for builders again over the last 5 years, like it was in the early 2000s. And now I just think even the next 60 days, it's going to be interesting to see how many new home starts there are, because I'm telling builders right now, you do not want to be overpriced for the next 60 days, or you're going to sit on that house through the winter. And so then they want to know, well, should I start anything new? Well, I don't know. What are interest rates going to be in March?
Starts have slowed quite a bit, right?
Oh, I don't blame them. It's scary right now. But if interest rates go into the 5s in September and stay there through the winter into next spring, builders are going to wish they put a bunch of houses up. So I just think that it's interesting to try to advise. I do want to be an advisor on that. I hope we're experienced enough to do that, but it's tricky.
Well, I'm glad you brought up new construction. One of the reasons I picked you three actually is you bring three different perspectives as well. So, Raj, I think you've got a very investor and construction space right now because you've focused in that. Jared, I think of you on the listing side as very systematic in your approach to listings. That's how we worked together back in the OG days. And Meg, you're like playing in this luxury space now, right? And so it's three different, slightly different perspectives on the same topic. Okay, but so what I'm hearing you say, Roger, is you just like kind of the thrill and the hustle in all of those spaces?
All of them have a skill set required to figure out how to be the best at what we're doing.
What was that in 2001 through 2006 when I started and you brought me in a 90 days on market average with a moderate amount of listings where things took a while to sell? What was the skill set then?
New construction was ramping for sure at that time. Right?
Yeah, there was a diverse set of lending tools available, so managing loan officer relationships and products available, figuring out how to not put your buyers into a bind because they're borrowing 105% on their mortgage. There was a lot of very diverse stuff going on. So in terms of 90-day marketing, yeah, honestly, that's not my strength.
You're not the systems guy.
It's not my strength. Yeah, it's Jared's strength. And actually, the other theory that I was going to present, we are referral based, which means we're probably dealing with people we know. Right now, I'm thinking about, there was a time in the 20 to 24 period where stuff was selling hot that a lot of realtors were saying, hey, get your house ready to go. We'll list it Friday. You go away for the weekend, come back Monday morning, I'll have it sold for you, and you just don't even think about it for 3 days. I like to think about that, only expanding that over 90 days. Just, I'll take your listing, know that I'm going to be getting it sold for you, but I'll see you in 90 days. Let me do my thing. If you can get away with that sort of a relationship on referral type clients, I like that approach.
Well, and you're talking as an investor, so like your clients are the kinds of people that I think can manage that psychology because they're not necessarily living in the house. So again, that's a great approach. What I'm hearing you say is that if you can set the expectations right for the seller and you can get their psychology to understand the extended days on market, then the crazy is able to be put on hold for that period of time.
Yeah, yeah.
How about you, best and worst markets?
I think for me, it depends if we're talking buyers or sellers.
Okay.
So I think it was a lot of fun, during COVID to help sellers, like Megan was saying. And managing, it's just so exciting to see 9 offers coming in. And which one do you want to pick? They're all amazing.
Yeah. And you get to look like a hero to every seller.
And typically the one winning out is cash and, no inspection. And it's candy land for sellers for sure. So that was a lot of fun. But at the same time, it was pretty stressful working with buyers in that environment, especially young buyers that were just getting beat, left and right. I had one couple that took 5 offers. I think a lot of the agents listening understand that market. Our team grew quite a bit at that time. But it was difficult helping buyers, and our weekends were huge demand for our time and our weekends helping buyers during that time, specifically because in Ames we have delayed showings. So everybody was allowing them to start being shown on Friday, and you had to get through them. Maybe 2-3 different buyers wanted to see the same property, and then Monday is the offer deadline, so you got to kind of work through, okay, do you want it or do you not? Are you pre-approved? Did you miss the boat and not get pre-approved before the weekend? And so that was a pretty stressful time for buyers.
And agents. Mm-hmm. And Megan, you touched on this. That was some stressful time. It was fun and exhilarating, but if you were working buyers, man, it was a pain.
Oh my gosh, and the highs and lows of the day. Because you would tell a seller, oh my gosh, we have 5 offers already. We're going to get a few more. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Here's the spreadsheet. You just line them up, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, you feel like a hero. But you're also telling buyers unfortunate news that
you lost out on
they lost out on another house. And I I remember doing that like 10, 11 o'clock at night. Like, it was just draining.
In contrast to 2008 to 12, when you could look at a property 3 times, make a decision, get a contractor in there, you know, and then get 10, 20 grand off the price and have your appraisal come in 30 grand higher than the sale price. And I mean, that was a pretty exciting time to help buyers.
I think there's no question the most stressful time was 2008, 2009, where you would help somebody buy a house at the peak of the market, and then two years later they ask you to help them sell it, and they're going to lose $60,000.
It's miserable.
That was and then the buyers even at that time saying, well, are we at the bottom yet? I don't want to lose $60,000. And so, yeah, that in my mind was the most stressful time, when we had a time of deflation or devaluing.
Putting the estimate of proceeds in front of your seller and saying, okay, where are you going to come up with this other 30 grand?
Knowing that you helped them buy the house 4 years earlier and told them, oh, this is great because houses always go up in value.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had to explain those ones.
I remember in that time period, it must have been 8, 9, 10 maybe, where like you would work with a buyer and I would keep every listing sheet of every property I showed them in a folder. I mean, 62, 30. I mean, you would show so many houses before they made a decision. And I'm thankful that it is not like that anymore. I mean, inventory.
We still have those
photos before photos were good. And I mean, you had to go physically see the house.
For sure.
There was no other option.
I still have those files in my office.
I am sorry for you.
Yeah. Need to have a bonfire, Raj.
Why we have a Huxley office for Roger's extra files. I mean, we had double the amount of inventory in that environment. I'm talking now 9, 10, 11 than what we have today. And we've gone up 30, 40, 50% already from where we were. So look, you know, part of the point here is I don't think agents really have any, even you guys watching you start to reminisce about this, because I'm watching your brain start to go backwards. I think we've got a short memory. And I don't think we realize how much the swimming pool that we're in has shifted, how much the water temperature's changed. We're like, you know, frogs in a boiling pot. Some of the changes we went through were very notable. And again, my thesis is we as a company, if we want to lead into this next chapter, we're going to have to figure out where this puck is headed. And we're going to have to brush off some skills that I think, well, one of two buckets. Either you're going to have to go remember what it was like to actually guide people through an extended period of time, or you're going to have to learn those skills for the first time. And I think anyone who learns those skills well now is going to win in this next 4 to 5 year period, because it's going to. So, Roger, I don't want to get into the market too much, but rates aren't going to go back to 4 or 5. The Fed, from what I understand, is saying maybe 1 or 2 quarter points at the end of this year. But all the projections right now for next year's interest rates are still in the low 6s. And so who knows, right? No one knows. But I do know that we're not anticipating some massive flood. And inventory right now, there's a steady flow of new inventory. And I think where we're headed is to a more normal market. But I don't think anyone knows what normal is, because we've created a new normal. For more than 15 years, we've been living in a fast-paced, it's like we went down the rabbit hole. What's it called?
Alice in Wonderland?
Thank you, yes. And so I think that's what I'm trying to set up here. And I think even I'm watching you guys recognize the extent to which it's not what it was in 21 anymore, right? And it's certainly not 08. Talk to me about this thesis. I'm suggesting that where we're headed is most likely to be not like the crash, not like the inventory dip, and not like the crazy low interest rates with multiple offers. My thesis is the market we're heading into is going to be most like 2000 through 2006, which is where we all grew up in our real estate journeys. Where am I right? Where am I wrong? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but what do you see?
I have 2 thoughts. One thought is that I don't know that we should ever use the word normal, because
agree.
What is there is no normal. It's just what part of the cycle are we in at the moment?
Yeah, we
right?
broke
Because
normal.
we used to call normal what we grew up in, maybe. I don't know. And then now we're kind of back to that. And I can't read that far away, Jared. My second thought is what happens is, I don't know. I feel like what happens to all the homes that were built in like 1900 or 1920, like the 100-year-old homes that, you know, are in the middle of the city. I'm getting like real whatever now, but like those aren't going to last forever. So like what happens to the middle of the city where the houses are, and, you know, as you go out, you get newer, and eventually, you know, we're going to stop the sprawl because we're going to run into each other and we have to come back in. So then what happens?
You mean because population growth is slowing, or?
Well, there's
why
a
would the
new
sprawl
construction demand, you know, the demand on new construction. And if we don't have that, then, you know, some of that stops.
Okay, but we've seen this in bigger cities, right?
Yeah.
Bigger cities move outward and then they move back inward as they build high-rise loft units because you can't commute more than 4 hours.
Yeah. So like, are we going to see that here in Des Moines?
Or redevelop
Maybe.
old pockets of the city. Sometimes that can happen too. People will take down an old home, put up a new home.
Okay,
You
so
get
this
more
is
of that.
fascinating, but how does it answer my question?
It doesn't.
So my
Typical
thought.
Megan, just like off in la la land.
Well, I want to agree with Megan about the normal thing, because
Yeah.
even if we could find a period that was normal, let's say when I started, 98 through 2002, let's call that normal in terms of inventory, interest rates, whatever you want to do. The technology has changed so much that as a realtor,
The game's different.
I still have to deal with the fact that in that normal market, I would wait for the real estate listing book to come out on the 1st of the month. A sign would go up on the 14th. I couldn't get information for 3 days about that. It's just such a different world in terms of technology and information that we're never going to be back to that day.
Okay, so I take those points. Let me change the word. Balanced. So a balanced market, Jared, you pointed to the supply-demand chart. A balanced market used to be understood as about 6 months supply. Now, we can argue that maybe that's now 5 months supply. Maybe that number's shifted. But a balance is something in any market that it's just a fundamental state of equilibrium between the essential buyer demand and the essential seller supply. We're headed to a balanced. The last 3 eras have been massively unbalanced. We either had aggressive seller power or aggressive buyer power. The crimp that you're defining, I think, is this intermediary phase where really no one has power and we're sort of settling into a new quote-unquote normal, but maybe the better word is balanced. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, in that season, that neutral season, 6 to 7 months on this graph is pretty short. So that's a transition period potentially. And so
Why? Is that what we've experienced in the past, or could it sit in that transition period for years?
yeah, I mean, it sure could. I mean, it seems to be flattening out a little bit. So maybe that neutral period will be a little bit longer this next round. I think it depends on what government levers they start pulling that affect some of those things. Because if they're trying to manipulate the market purposely, then boy, that's a little bit harder to predict.
Well, we know they are. And the manipulation that they were doing was we've got to incentivize everyone to buy houses, 1% interest rates, right? A 0% Fed funds rate, 3% 30-year mortgages. The manipulation, there's always been manipulation. For as long as I've been in real estate, there's been manipulation. It was 100% financing because they were trying to get the dream of home ownership. Then there was, holy cow, the market crashed. Manipulation was let's give tax credits to anyone that buys a house. Then there was manipulation of dropping interest rates, and then in 2020 there was give free money away. Now for the last 3 years, the manipulation has been we've got to get rampant, out of control inflation, and so we've really got to put a ceiling on prices by increasing interest rates. I don't think there's ever been non-manipulation. Maybe the more interesting question is, what is the present trajectory of the manipulation, and what does that mean we're headed into for the next 3 to 5 years? Because they're clearly going to keep trying to keep inflation under control, which means we can't go back to 4%. And so, you know, and I don't want to, maybe I'm off topic. The market's not the topic here. I think we can see where it's headed. Maybe just tell me if you see it differently. I project that the next 3 to 4 years, we are going to see a more extended quote unquote balanced market, where there's not going to be aggressive buyer demand and there's not going to be aggressive seller control. With interest rates hovering closer to 6, we're going to deal with an extended quote unquote crimp. But it's only a crimp because people's memories are short and they remember 2020 and 2017. But once they forget that, they're actually going to move into an environment that I grew up in, which is the one where, yeah, it takes 60 to 90 days. Roger, what you said earlier, it's just, you got to get used to, go away for 90 days. Yeah. So play with that.
We have to continue. We have to always remember that we are not salespeople. We're not trying to sell homes. We're at our core, we are experts in this industry, and people pay us for our knowledge and expertise. I had a conversation yesterday with a couple that called me. They own a home. They're trying to decide when should they sell it. They also own a property in Florida. They can't get any guidance on whether they should sell that property or keep that property. Yeah. Should they turn it over to an Airbnb property manager? And I just sat on the phone and chatted with them about all those things for 30 days. And at the end of that, there was this massive sigh of relief that they found somebody who knows that language and knows those worlds and can talk intelligently with them about it. That's who we are. We just have to be people. They pay us for our advice, for our information. And if we don't have advice, knowledge, and information, then we are of no value.
Trusted advisor is what we call that. I think it's a really good point.
It helps to have this background in our tool bag, to be able to have those conversations with a more balanced perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. But this couple that I talked to yesterday, they met with a realtor on my team who's been a realtor for 30 days. They met her at an open house Sunday, and we are now meeting with them together tomorrow. And she knows, this brand new realtor knows nothing, but she's going to end up with a really great transaction because we're going to work together to be that.
So if I'm right, where we're headed is a place where most of our listings will sit for longer than what they've been sitting. And that's not a temporary cramp. I totally get the cramp metaphor. But I think this is where we're headed. And even in chatting with you guys before the podcast, I think that even you as some of the top agents in the state, we haven't all necessarily brushed off some of the skills of ongoing communication. And so let me ask the question this way. What are you feeling right now? And where are you finding that there's tension or struggle? Like, what's the biggest challenge right now? Setting expectations, like getting sellers to understand it might take a while. So that hey, go away for 90 days conversation kind of thing, Roger. Pricing it right, because it's really hard. Megan, you mentioned this, to like just dial it in and figure out where it needs to be, especially for higher end properties. The psychology of our sellers, like keeping them not freaking out because where's all my offers? It's been a full week, right? Or even just the ongoing communication and remembering a system or deploying a system again. Where are you feeling struggle, tension? Where are you guys at?
All of it. I feel like the market is super sensitive to the volatile nature of the interest rates. I feel like my phone rings in direct response to what the interest rates are doing, whether that is like a sliver of a point. I feel like people are just waiting for that little tiny dip or opportunity, and it makes a huge difference.
Why do you think that? I mean, it seems like it shouldn't
because I
matter.
think they're tuned in to nothing really is going to happen. So if there is a little bit of a opportunity, jump on it. I feel like it. I think
part of it is that. Sorry, Megan. Part of it is that I'm going to try to answer this for you. Part of that, I think, is this technology world where we're in, where we have buyers sitting on a computer,
too much news,
watching a graph that shows interest rates, mortgage interest rates. They're watching a listing inventory, and they know all of this stuff that people never knew before. And they think they're experts.
They're like bad day traders of 30-year mortgages.
Yeah, that's kind of what's going on.
They're getting pinged left and right by Zillow with all the options.
Their credit score moves, and they get notified by their phone, and oh boy, I better do something.
It's just constantly in front of them.
Well, I think in that is the work to be done for us. Back to trusted advisors. I mean, part of what we have to do now is recognize that psychology going on with our buyers, and the psychology that our sellers are dealing with. And I think the cramp is that we're between. Once the tide shifts and sellers realize, wait, I can't price where I used to price, and I have to be more open to the fact that buyers aren't that hungry. I think we start to settle into a normal, but I think that's part of the problem is sellers remember the past and buyers remember the past. The buyers are like, wow, I remember 3% interest rates, so why would I want to jump on a 6% at this price? And sellers remember the past, where they're like, well, everyone, it's sold instantly. And so we're at a standoff. I think your metaphor actually works well. It's, I'm just not, yeah.
I feel like we've been in a standoff for about 2 years.
Yes. With a lot of not fake news, but a lot of false information about when we could anticipate a change. Mm-hmm. Not that anyone was lying.
Which just furthers the standoff.
And yet, how's all your years going? How's sales?
Pretty good.
Pretty
good.
Pretty darn
Pretty amazing.
Good. So there's a 4 million units environment, which is as low as it was in the crash. And yet we're dealing with a whole bunch of our top agents having record years. And as a company, we're 20-something% up with fewer agents. So I just know that there's winning in this environment. And that's, I think, the big point that I'm trying to drive into the team, into the collective of our entire organization is we did such a good job leading the chase into the crash. And then I think we led the chase into the multiple offer environment. And I really want our team to lead the chase into this next chapter, which I think is a little boring. I think it's a boring chapter of properties sit a little bit longer. All the hustle and the excitement you were talking about of 2021, I think that's behind us, guys. And I think what we got to do is brush off the fundamentals of proper communication, setting expectations, pricing as an art form. And I'm preaching now, but I believe this. I'm interested if you're seeing it the same way. You're nodding.
Yeah, but just because real estate might be boring, that doesn't mean realtor work has to be boring. In fact, that can be really exciting from a realtor standpoint. If all the realtors are sitting around saying, well, this is boring, well, I'm going to find a way to win in that environment. And that requires all kinds of creativity and expression. And it's boring. Yeah, that's the fun part of our career.
So it's a great opportunity when things are slower. It's a great opportunity to circle back to your people. The people that bought 10 years ago, go see what they've done to the house and talk to them about the value of their home. And it's a great time to get in front of your people for sure. And the referrals will come because of that for sure.
What I wasn't planning to ask you guys this. I'm going to put you on the spot though. What do you think you personally need to adapt or brush off or improve given the market that we're sort of in and heading into?
Absorption analysis, sending the listings that just came on that we're competing with now, having the regular conversations. Hey, this one just closed. We want to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
How are you guys feeling?
Did you used to do that? Mm-hmm. Have you stopped?
I didn't necessarily have to when the home sold in 3 days.
Exactly.
So when it's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you got to have a plan for touching base and for thinking and changing, being willing to change the strategy that we might have started with and saying, hey, the market has adjusted. It's a living, breathing thing. We've got to understand where it's at and adapt. And so, we need to not think about how things were when you first listed. We need to plan for what things are doing now.
That's a really good answer. I mean, I agree. And I think the flexibility that you're describing, and some of that comes with humility, but I think the humility comes with a recognition that there is no way to dial the price in right up front. Like it's a fluid environment. The best we can do is consult, like Roger said, give them the information. And then, Jared, what you said is great, like real-time updates of what the competitive landscape has, how it's changed. What's gone that we're not competing with anymore, and what's new that we're now competing with, like a real-time race.
Yeah, and you can simply text this property, hey, this one just came on. Obviously, we want to watch that because that's going to affect us.
Yeah.
There's no question, in my mind, pricing is my biggest challenge. I remember that the day I started in real estate, I had a partner, and he said, oh, yeah, you're going to be able to look at these houses in a year, and you're going to just look at the curb, and you're going to know what they're worth. That really wasn't true. And about 10 years ago, I actually texted that guy. And I said, do you remember when you said that? I'm now 15 years into my career.
25.
Well, no, at that point, I'm 15 years in, and that's finally true. I feel like I can look at any property and I know the price, I know the value. And that has held true now for 10 years, and it is no longer true.
Yeah.
I just went and priced an acreage, and I said, I think maybe 550 is where it's probably going to land. But I said, I think we should try 600 to start with. Somebody might fall in love with this place. And then as I'm driving away, I'm thinking, oh, man, did I just screw that situation? I probably shouldn't have done that.
And I offer advice, don't do that. Don't suggest.
Well, thanks. You're a little late.
Well, you should have listened to the podcast series. I think we need to be careful about offering definitives on pricing. We need to give ranges and then set expectations for flexibility as we react and respond.
Biggest
time
issue.
of year, and
Biggest
that gets
issue.
into the absorption analysis again.
Yeah, you're right. Seasonal is a thing now. It wasn't for the last 5 years. It's a big thing right now. I actually had a client yesterday say, we want to do an open house. Should we do it this weekend, or are people on vacation, or should we do it next weekend after the fair starts? And I thought, I haven't heard that question for 10 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So pricing is what you feel you need to adapt?
Yeah, for sure.
How about you?
I think for me, I like the setting up of expectations, because Roger, I kind of fall a little bit into your camp where I'm like, hey, let me just do it. Let me take care of it. I think I operate best when somebody just says, just take care of it for me.
Yeah.
And I recently had a seller who, from the minute she moved out and we had it painted, staged, repairs, offers, whatever, till tomorrow closing, she was just like, hands off, take care of it for
Love
me.
that.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Those are the best.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, do you see that more or less in higher price points?
I think it both.
No, more or less.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I guess the hires, I
Agreed.
do feel like they expect less hand holding for sure. Because they're a little bit more savvy, and they do take less updates because they know that things will be slower, and that's just part of the natural, expectations. I have one that I've had on the market for over 2 years. Starting today, we just implemented a every 2 weeks price drop, and we're just gonna drop.
You don't have to give the address.
The option is, do we take it to a luxury auction? And the one auction that happened in our market in 2015, the property sold, but it was not considered a success because of what, one person bid on it. And so I don't think we need to go there. I think
I'm sure people are watching that one. So it's just that top of mind awareness that you'll get those pings happening every couple of weeks, or flip it into, we used to do this where you'd set up this plan and like a 90-day marketing plan where you'd have the initial listing price, and then 30 days later, the first price adjustment, and you could show them their estimate of proceeds based off that first adjustment. And then 2 weeks after that, we're going to roll in another buyer credit, incentive. And then we're going to take that incentive, we're going to roll that into an agent incentive. And then we're going to take that, and you could actually save them significant reductions by utilizing those adjustments in different ways. And
so I've got those old templates because that's something I think we worked on together. And I think it's been, 18 years since anyone's even thought of anything that complicated or convoluted, because you just haven't needed to.
Yeah, kudos to you, Jared, for having that in your back pocket to pull out. And kudos to you, Megan, for carrying a listing for 2 years. Yeah, that is well done.
I win.
And they didn't want to do anything different, or
I
they were
think,
just waiting for you to make a suggestion? Or?
Probably both. I think, the expectation is that it's already going to sell a lot less than what the asking price is. So if we reduce it, but now he's just ready to let it go. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Jared,
There's some real opportunity there. I'm telling
sounds
you.
like it. That's why I said you don't have to give the
real
address.
Opportunity. Yeah.
Roger, you've always had a very real-time approach to your sellers. I think I call you like laissez-faire. You're it's free-flowing. There's no structure. You're just very communicative with the few people that you're working with.
I've never
directly.
heard of what Jared just was talking about.
Yeah. Well, and that's not even feedback. That's a staged marketing plan. But Jared, you've been more systematic, and partly because we, worked. I think I trained you on a very rigid system when you started back in
2006.
1850.
Well, I trained you. You must have abandoned it.
I didn't listen to much of that. Yeah, I got a little more structured pretty quickly. But no, the fundamentals that you taught me have not changed to this day. Jared, my question is, you used to prescribe, I believe, to a weekly seller feedback scheduled time. Have you, I presume you've abandoned that? And my follow-up question is, do you actually think you need to reinstate that at this point?
Yes, I have abandoned that to a degree, but I constantly think about it still. So I haven't needed it because the properties have sold quicker.
Yes.
So I kind of in my mind thought, I'll give it 2 to 3 weeks, and then I'll start doing that again if it hasn't sold. And I'm carrying one listing right now that's taking more time. That's all I have for inventory.
We're still not carrying a significant amount of inventory. No. So the question feels maybe a little redundant because it's not like we're sitting on the 6,000 listings that we were, where at any point I had 15 plus listings at a time. Yeah. We're not there yet. No.
I'm prepared to utilize that tool if I need to.
It hasn't happened
but
yet.
I haven't needed to use it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then you on expectations. I'm curious if you've got insight as to like how you're going to need to shift that.
I think about it every day and every night. I feel like right now I'm a little bit on the reactive side, and which just fuels my anxiety a little bit more. I'm carrying 27 listings. 10 of them are lots. So I feel like I have a lot of expectations to fulfill. And, when there's showings, that's opportunity for communicate. I think it's not necessarily an update on the listing systematically weekly for me. I'm terrible at systems, I guess. But I just think it's opportunity of FaceTime. And it's even if it's just talking about a showing or whatever, it's we talked about this in our meeting the other day. I like
Did you say FaceTime?
Face-to-face
time.
Not FaceTime.
Oh.
But I did say in the meeting the other day, I do like BombBomb videos.
I have no idea what that is.
It is a video that you record and send to your seller, and it just comes across as a text. And I like that a little bit better than an email filled with information because it is FaceTime.
So you're sending your clients bombs.
Sometimes.
One of the topics we covered, and I really do hope everyone goes back and listens to this, is because we talked about ethos, pathos, and logos and the different forms of persuasion. I love the bomb, but my theory is that degrees of intimacy, the higher you go up the intimacy chain, the more you're actually going to win in this environment. The lowest would be nothing. I don't give you an update because I'm afraid to give you one. I have no good news. Next would be, shoot you a text, then maybe a deep email. Then north of that, I can get to a bomb because at least you see my face. But north of that would, I think, be a phone call because there's the capacity to hear their tone of voice and their inflection. There's the capacity to ask questions and dig into the psychology a little bit and find out what they're feeling. And then north of that would be a face-to-face. Mm-hmm. And I know it's been a long time since this has mattered. But again, my thesis is that our team needs to figure out how to have weekly voice-to-voice or Zoom with the listings that we anticipate are going to sit on the market a while, and 21 or 30-day face-to-faces. Because it's in the absence of face-to-face and in the absence of voice-to-voice, we forfeit the opportunity to actually guide the human being and read that relationship two ways. And that's a huge ask of our people because we've been living in such a fast-paced world where, the notion of having to take that kind of time investment into each seller kind of feels crazy. But I do believe it's what they're going to deserve as we move forward.
I would make the case that we need to do that more now as we're transitioning until it becomes something that
Normalized.
The market expects it. So right now people don't expect it. And if we give that, I think it's going to look like really good service.
Well, it is.
And it is. But if we don't get ahead of that curve, I think we're going to miss. Yeah, we're going to miss the boat, because then people start expecting it. Oh, your agent did that for you. My agent's not doing that. They'll start talking and conversing.
I just think it's what grandma deserves. It's back to the grandma code for me. In this environment, we're trusted advisors, we're consultants. It's what they're paying us for. And in the state of flux that we're in, with the confusion that everybody's under, agents included. And I think that's part of the series. Is I think our first job is not to go counsel our clients, is to get our crap together on going, wait, where are we right now in the marketplace? Where are we headed? I think we need clarity. And then I think we have to develop convictions about what the winning strategy is. It took a lot of work to convince everyone in 2008 that they needed to go take CDPE courses on how to become short sale experts. No one wanted to do that. But after a while, everyone strapped on their belt and their boots, and they're like, this is the work to be done. I think there's different work to be done. And I'm hoping that I can get our team to see that and buy into it, and then get busy on that. I want to ask just one or two more questions, and then Roger.
Yeah, I was going to say one more thing. I'm carrying about 30 million in listings right now, and that's from about a dozen clients.
Mostly new construction.
Lots, new construction, commercial, kind of everything. And it's a lot of single family stuff. But the point is, when you have 30 million in listings with 12 clients, those 12 clients are all really critical, and you need to treat them really well, because if one of them walks away, you maybe just lost $6 million of business. And the thing that I'm watching in myself is that the relationship is not just real estate. And part of that is because our lives are being lived out publicly on social media. So I'm getting ready to go to Africa for 2 weeks. All those people are going to know that. Yeah. And they're going to watch what I'm doing in Africa. And I don't think it's only because I don't think it's only that way with those 12 clients. I think if I have one client who has a $350,000 house listing, they know what I did last weekend, and I know what they did last weekend. And so there's a more fluid relational piece to this. It's not just real estate anymore.
100%. And every day they back out of their driveway and see your sign, and that, for any normal human being, represents another day that you failed to get them to where they need to get. And the pressure rises. And even though they're rational, kind, good human beings, I know what kind of stress that would place me under. Yeah. And eventually I do start to, even if you get the job done 3 months from now at full price, I might still dislike you.
They know it's because I got a hole-in-one on the sixth, hole yesterday, and that makes them doubly mad.
More resentful.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Like, it's easier to think that way, Roger, with your 12, because you've got a few clients with a lot of inventory. It's a little harder to deploy that same thinking to 27 independent sellers. Yeah. On all of your listings.
But that's what I'm suggesting, is that I think we should be thinking that way on an individual. I don't know. You've got 28. I assume there's something similar going on there. They don't just see you as their realtor. They know you as a person. They know your life. You know them. It's a different deal.
Well, I believe they want you to go on vacation. They just want you to go on vacation after you make sure they get the update they deserve.
Yeah.
Because they do deserve it. Okay, final thought here, kind of. We're heading into the fall. And I think the other seed I need to be planting in our organization is that for the first time in a long time, listings that don't sell by August, September, like you said earlier, Roger, will likely have a good chance of sitting through the winter, which means for the first time in a while, we've got sellers who risk not selling their home and not being able to move to wherever it is they're planning to move to. And I don't know if we've taken that seriously enough yet. And I think we need to be thinking very intentionally and actively about conversations, face-to-face conversations, we need to be having about where a bunch of our listings are positioned. And back to the seasonal thing, how aggressively we need to adapt our strategy based on the time of the year. I think we get to price a little more liberally coming into the spring. I think we have to be very careful by the time we get to August, September. Thoughts on where we're headed this fall and this winter as it relates to listings you either have or how we should be guiding listing clients?
So I'm going to disagree with you, Dylan. I can imagine that. But I believe this fall we are going to see a rate that starts with a 5 on a 30-year mortgage.
We have this on record now. So,
and I agree with Jared that we are going to see a normal fall seasonal market from September 1 through Thanksgiving if the weather holds. And that could be a great time to sell real estate. That's what I'm ramping up for. I'm telling my clients, all 12 of them, you don't want to sit on properties through the winter. I think you're going to have a window. You need to sell your property in September and October.
Well, I think we agree and disagree. I agree that actually I think this fall will be strong and healthy. I don't think it's because of 5% rates. I do think it will because the economy is starting to stabilize. I think people will be, there's a good window coming. I agree with that. And I think we should, in agreement again, be guiding our clients, our sellers, to take advantage of that window.
And when I'm saying 5, hear me saying 5.99.
Yeah. Well, and Megan, you shook your hands there.
I am subscribing to Roger's theory.
Out of sheer
excitement,
desire.
yes. I always believed that the second half of 2025 would be more robust than the first half. And, I think right now I'm personally feeling the late July, August vacation, back to school fair, dead week, whatever. Our properties have gotten hardly any showings this week. Last week was phenomenal, but I do believe that this fall will be a really healthy real estate market and things will move before the, seasonal kind of real slowdown of the winter and holiday.
Yeah, and again, I agree. And what I want to be careful of is that we're not missing the essence of what I'm suggesting, because I'm not suggesting the market's going to crash. I'm suggesting that we need to get used to a more balanced market. And every balanced market that we've ever had, when you come into the fall and then the winter, some listings didn't sell.
Yep.
And there's a time that we've been in for 10 years where that wasn't the case. They all sold. I don't think that's the truth anymore. And if that's not the case, and some of our agents, your team members, have never lived through that, I think we need to be making sure they're counting the cost for their sellers coming into the fall. But don't hear me saying that I think this fall is going to be, I think we're going to have a fun time second half of the year. I don't think some of our sellers will. I think some of our sellers are going to have a very, very cold bucket of water on their face when they realize that the price that they were hoping to achieve isn't going to be realistic for them when their home's on the market in October and they have to move.
Yeah, I agree with these guys. I really think it kind of depends on price point. It depends on competition for that price point. I think you just have to look at the active listings and the solds that closed in July and August and think pretty hard about being a little more aggressive, going into the winter. I think it's kind of similar every year. I think this time around we just have a few more properties that buyers can look at, which is actually a good thing for them.
It's a good thing for buyers because there's more options. Mm-hmm. And in the absence of 5.9, they're just going to keep being a little picky.
Yeah.
We're going to stay in the starting blocks. Mm-hmm. Keep cramping.
And you're just sitting around waiting for someone to shoot a gun, and that gun to you is 5% interest rates.
5.99.
5 handle.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm a little excited for this young couple that I'm shopping for, and I'm thinking, they've got flexibility with their lease, so I'm thinking they're in a great spot
in
to
Ames?
potentially,
Interesting.
Yeah, they worked it out. 5-month lease starting August 1.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I think they have a great opportunity to take some time, find the one that they like, maybe negotiate a pretty good price and make it work. But the sellers need to be prepared for sitting longer and waiting. And a lot of them don't want that because they're used to the quick sales.
Okay, so rapid fire, harness your inner younger version. Well, I'm just thinking, harness all of the collected wisdom that you have from having gone through all those eras. And based upon what you know about where we're at, I guess just real quick, any advice to agents that have only been in the market for either this last era of post-COVID or the previous era of, which represents 80% of our people, post-2013.
Yeah.
So advice for anyone that's not dealt with either a crash or a more balanced market on how they need to be thinking about their business, thinking about their client relationships, etc. Who wants to go first?
I would just encourage agents to be agile, to try to adapt and move as quickly as possible, and to be willing to talk to your people. I mean, they've hired you to do a job, so it's important to stay in contact and don't be intimidated by those calls. In fact, you might realize that they're ready to do what you want them to do before you've even asked them. So just step out, be willing to touch base more often than you maybe have been doing.
Yeah. It's good.
I would just encourage everybody to stick with it and learn and grow. The first decade is all about the excitement, new business. You should become an expert on everything you can become an expert on. Be thankful for change, thankful for new markets, because then you're going to reap the benefits in the second decade. That's a great time. The third decade, you become the OG. You now know what you're doing in all situations. Pray for my fourth decade.
I don't need to pray for it. I need you to stop drinking Diet Coke.
Pray that you're still here for your fourth?
I'm so much healthier than I
What is
was
that thing called?
10 years ago.
A large guzzle?
This is the fluid of life, right
Hey, he
here.
gave up ice cream. It's baby stuff.
I've
baby
dropped
steps.
19 pounds since January 1st.
And they're going to start putting real cane sugar into that stuff.
No,
what I've heard.
sugar is poison. Avoid it. Go with the stuff that's in Diet Coke.
That's fake sugar. That's even worse.
No, it's way better. I'm telling you.
Come back for another episode.
Oh my
where
God,
we-
I could go all day on that. My advice is to plug in, because I think as agents, no matter what decade of business they are in, we are in the right place because we have these conversations. And honestly, team meetings are a really great place to gain insight as to what everybody else is saying to their clients. And it really just kind of gives ideas and just more fuel to be able to go out there and handle our clients.
Reminders.
I feel like that was a commercial.
Felt like
Plug
came
in,
from the heart.
show up to team meetings, listen to us.
Go C21.
I appreciate you guys and appreciate everyone that's been following along. Again, if you have not dug into this material, which I know a lot of you haven't got there yet, it's in the Forge. It's available for you to go through, and there's 4 CEs available for you as you go through this in the course material. So plug in, guys. It's a fun time. It's a new era, and there's opportunity in every one of these turns. So you got this. Thanks, everyone.